Okay, it's Let's Argue time. Time to argue. Give you my thoughts, my opinions on the hot takes you guys give me over the internet. Whether, they're hot takes or unpopular opinions or tough questions, we respond to those best ones. That's the point of this series, is what we do. I have been trying to drink less cold stuff, but I've got a smoothie. I can't not drink a smoothie. I'm gonna do something fun. I'm gonna go through the takes you gave me backwards. People will listen to Kendrick Lamar in 200 years in the same way people listen to Beethoven today. The songs will be known pretty much by everyone, but no one really knows where they came from or what they're called. No one else from the last 80 years or so will sustain as long. I have a hard time imagining in 200 years that Kendrick Lamar's songs will be so separated from who he is and who he was that people know the songs and not the person, especially since so many of his songs lyrically are about his life and are self-referential. You're telling me people are gonna know the back of their hands Good Kid, Mad City from front to back 200 years from now, but they're not gonna know the guy whose life story that album is about. Also, it'll be a pretty sad sight to see Kendrick Lamar's music go the way of Beethoven and just nothing but higher institutions and upper crust motherfuckers supporting it financially and trying to shove it down other generations' throats that may be on to other things. That, I think, would be the ultimate death and irony of Kendrick's art and message, for it to end up suffering that context. This sounds like hell to me. Saying A$AP Rocky and Travis sound the same because they both make psychedelic hip-hop is like saying 21 and Lil Durk sound the same because they both make gangster rap and I guess also trap. Also, unrelated note, how do Mr. Krabs' eyelids work? Honestly, how do most things in SpongeBob work? Those motherfuckers light fire underwater. How are things fire underwater in Bikini Bottom? To me, that's a bigger mystery than Mr. Krabs' freaking eyelids. Being a Grimes stan is the most exhausting type of stan you can be, but she still feeds, so it's worth it in the end. What does she feed? Her last record was painfully mediocre. She has, in conversation, dissed, her best record handily, Art Angels. What is being served here? I don't know. I mean, hey, listen, Chelsea Manning is a major upgrade, and maybe creatively there will be some bangers and bops to come. Fingers crossed. But I don't know, I failed to see how the exhaustion is worth it. Generally for being a stan, though, I don't think it has anything to do with Grimes. Being a stan for anybody, I think is kind of troublesome, frankly, because nobody's perfect, and everybody has their days where they're a complete fucking mess, and just because you're a stan doesn't mean you have to sit there and support somebody through every single thing that they're doing, especially the awful stuff. You can be your own person and sort of just live your own life. Be your own stan. Be a stan of yourself. Foundations of Decay was a great comeback song. The different sections of the song are reminiscent of their whole catalog, while also bringing something new. The buried vocals and muddiness are also certainly intentional, as if to replicate something more black-gazy in nature. Jesus Christ, Billy, what? There's little to nothing on that song that, in my opinion, was reminiscent of the band's early stuff, and not that it needed to be. And on top of it, while I guess the vocals were buried, it wasn't like it was super psychedelic or awash in effects or anything like that to say it's kind of black-gazy because we can't fucking hear Gerard's vocals. And God, why were the guitars so fucking blown out? Not only that, but I feel like the various sections of the song, for as long as the track came off a little one-dimensional. It didn't really hit a really dramatic peak vocally or instrumentally, as dramatic as you would expect given the slow-burning first leg. Yeah, I don't think it's a great comeback track. I think it's a very weak comeback track. Denzel was wrong to include Donda in a tweet with CLB. Donda has some of the best musicians in the world on it, and you gave it the same score as the new Kendrick, Life of the Party. Well, I gave Kendrick an 8. I think Denzel had a point in that tweet, but it was a point in different ways depending on which record he was talking about. CLB, obviously super low effort and a mess, and Drake could have done so much better with the budget that he had. And on top of it, Donda, while it was clear that Kanye poured a ton of money into the promo and the presentation and some of the music that went on the record, yes, that is true. But simultaneously, it's a mess because it's just so not really edited, especially the version with all the extra freaking tracks on it that don't really need to fucking be there. I think Denzel is making an apt observation here in that these guys have the resources to do better and be more careful and be more purposeful about what they do, and they're not. And granted, I do enjoy Donda way more than I do CLB. I've given it a positive review. I'm not going to deny that here. But my biggest issue with that LP is that it came out to be as much of a mess as it is, and it didn't need to be that. It did not need to be that. It did not need to be as sloppy in presentation as it is. These banger is better than the 2-hour version. The way the fart sound is made is so original and human-made. The 2-hour version sounds so experimental and robot-made. I appreciate the fact that they want to experiment with some robot fart and AI fart, but human fart is far more better. I don't know, man. I think you gotta kind of get with the present. I mean, human farts have been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Frankly, I'm getting kind of tired of human farts. It's the fucking future. We need AI farts. We need digital and synthetic farts. We need farts from other planets, from aliens, from different galaxies and species. Like, I'm tired of these human farts. We've done everything that we can do with the human fart. Don't you think so? I mean, it's like we've pushed the human fart so far at this point. I don't think there's anything else we could do with the human fart. You know, let's just be done with it. Let's move on. Let's discover new kinds and strains of farts to come up with 1-2-hour versions of audio tracks with nothing but farts on them. Stop being a coward. I'm against midnight releases on albums. This may sound like an old person thing, but I mean, how is one supposed to fully enjoy and listen to a record nowadays for the first time in the middle of the night? Why can't it be any other time? You do realize that, like, you know, it's just technically released on midnight because that's when it's the next release day, and that is in a way a convenience because of the fact that it's just all digital and streaming now. Whereas before, if a record was released on the next day, you couldn't go out to the store at midnight and buy it. You had to wait until the store opened the next day to get the CD or the vinyl or whatever, number one. And number two, you do also realize that just because it releases at midnight doesn't mean you don't have to listen to it then. You can wait. You can just go to bed. That's what I do. So in a way, this sounds like a you problem. I know you're getting a lot of flack for saying Jack Harlow should have been featured on Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers and more, but I just want you to know that I stand with you. Jack and the rap community as a whole is absolutely justified in feeling slighted over this. God! I'm so mad and I'm so upset that in my 26-minute review of Mr. Morale, there were so many people who came away from it just taking the wrong message. You know, the message of that review ultimately is like, where the fuck is where's the Jack Harlow here, baby? Harleasy. He needs to be on everything. He needs to be on everything. He's like butter or like ketchup or some kind of combination of butter and ketchup. As an ex-hi-fi industry employee, audiophiles enjoy music less than the average consumer, not more. Most are unable to listen to their beloved music on anything but $1,000 at least equipment, or $1,000 plus. If you can't enjoy your favorite song on an iPhone speaker, or worse, don't listen. I mean, I do vibe with the sentiment that there are a lot of people who toss tons of money into this audiophile shit and are more about the fact that, you know, it's a technology, it's a tech thing, and it's something to kind of turn into a hobby and obsess over and dump all of your money into. It's more about that than it is about the music that they're actually spinning. That is true to a degree. Like when you've got some dick at a stereo shop selling you like $600 super duper copper mega cables or some shit like that, you've kind of a little bit gone off the deep end, if I'm going to be honest. But like with that being said, I don't think it's a requirement. I don't think it's some kind of like, you know, proof of devotion to music and art in general to be able to enjoy a song or an artist or an album on a phone speaker, especially since some mixes and albums and genres, frankly, sound really shitty on the phone, sound really shitty on some laptop speakers, sound really shitty on some earbuds. So I think there's a healthy balance here we can strike. I think, you know, rather than getting up the asses of audiophiles, why not just generally from Spotify, from companies that are making, you know, earbuds and are making laptops and are making, you know, devices to listen to music on. Let's maybe just demand a better baseline of audio quality and delivery through these devices. Let's do that. Why do you still review Deftones? I get that you don't like their atmospheric heaviness sound. Not the only band on the planet that makes an atmospheric heaviness sound, and there are other bands that do that I enjoy, but But this is literally the reason people love them. Okay. Diamond Eyes is so praised. Okay, listen. I think there's like a disconnect here. You seem to think that the reason reviews exist is to make the fans happy and tell the fans what they want to hear, and that's not the point of reviews. And the reason I continue to review them is their music is incredibly relevant, and they're one of the most well-known alternative metal bands and significant alternative metal bands of all time. And I have quite a bit of respect for their earlier catalog. Saturday Night Wrist, I think, is quite a sick record as well. I just don't like the new records. And Deftones are far from the only artist who I have continued reviewing their newer work, despite me not really enjoying it. So I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry. All right, well, that's going to do it for another episode of Let's Argue. Giving my thoughts and my opinions on your thoughts and your opinions. I love you. You're the best. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up with a link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, let's argue forever.